There we go. Takes so long to connect. Okay, let me get the desktop set up. I can never do this ahead of time because YouTube won't allow me to. If you guys are watching at the beginning on the replay, just fast forward through the first couple of minutes. Hey, Rita Close. Hey, Kathy. The actual doctor's appointment with the cardiologist went pretty well, but he wants me to go see another doctor, so that's always fun. Hey, Leanne. Hey, Kathy Mowry. Yeah, this is going to be a little different today. It's going to be short because I had to get ready for the doctor this morning, and then, of course, he's always behind and late. So then I had to stop at the store on the way home and unload the car, and I can't get my diet cranberry open. I haven't eaten today, so not very much. Let me just give it a few minutes. Hey, Cheryl. July. Jewel Giacana. Let them 66. I don't know if you guys would have any interest in this. I could have made a long form, but I'd have to kill my back sitting at my desk for 2 days to record it and edit it. So I thought I would just go live with this first and let you guys know. I know most of you are not Angelinos, so you may have never even heard of this story, but it's getting weirder by the year. Let me just give a few moments for people to come in. I see my usuals here. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people are going to want to see this because if you guys are in other cities or other countries, you may not care about what's going on in LA. Hey, Jerry Hart. Welcome in from Michigan. Yeah, this is a weird one. Nobody in this town, including the FBI or the police or the military or people that work like the air traffic controllers, can explain any of this. Hey, Courtney. Welcome in. Cat Lady Grandma. Yeah, this is crazy. I remember this because this happened, it started in 2020. And as you guys know, I had been treating for breast cancer in 2019 and 2020. And then the whole world went weird, and this story started happening. For those of you that are new, I am April Davis, PI. I am a licensed private investigator in Los Angeles, California. And I actually used to live next door to LAX when I was a toddler. Yeah, that smell of jet fuel, always like, home. Maybe that's why I grew up with breast cancer. Who knows? But there's somebody called Jetpack Man, and they don't know who or what Jetpack Man is. Hey, Jay. Uh, it's been reported that it's a Jetpack Man, that it's been a drone, that it's possibly a balloon, even a Jack Skellington balloon. But balloons float. This guy, whoever or whatever this is, flies. And the pilots see a man that looks like he's wearing a jetpack. And it happened like 6 times between 2020 and 2022. And it's weird to hear the conversations between the pilots and the air traffic control. And at first, I think they thought the first pilot was bananas. Hey, Jason, covert investigations. UFO ever seen one? No, I haven't. But this could be considered a UFO because nobody knows what this is. So it happened 6 times between 2020 and 2022. And apparently, yesterday, it was reported that it happened again. Let's see. Let me turn off notifications. I'm getting YouTube notifications. Okay. This has happened again. And this was a woman pilot, but she was flying a military mission because she was in one of those jets, those private jets, but they do fly. The military does own some Gulfstream jets where they fly like VIPs around. I've known a pilot that used to do that, and this left Joint Andrews Air Force Base in D.C. It's actually in Maryland, close to where I used to live. They stopped at Nellis, and then they came to LAX, and it's always in the same area between 3 to 6,000 feet. It's always past the 605 towards the airport, and the 605 is way out there, like San Gabriel Valley. So it's west of the 605, it's north of the 105, but usually south of the 10, and it's in very crowded airspace because in LA we have 4 runways and they're all going in the same direction. And 2 of them are active coming in and 2 are active coming out. And there's Santa Monica Airport, there's Long Beach Airport. In the valley, you have Burbank, Bob Hope Airport, you have Van Nuys Airport. There's some smaller ones around like Hawthorne and Torrance. So the airspace is very crowded in LA. Hey, Boston Bill. And this has always been a very dangerous situation because these things fly like right by the planes. Like the pilots are like, because they're concentrating on landing, and something flies in front of them or to the side of them. And it happened again. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of time to research this because I just got back from the doctor and the store, but I saw the story while I was sitting in the doctor's office because I get a lot of YouTube stuff done while I'm waiting in that cardiology office. And I saw this and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then when I got home, I looked up to see if this guy has a wiki page, and he does. And it's like 2 pages long of, all the different incidents, 1 to number 6. So this is probably number 7. And I actually heard the air traffic controller and the pilot. It was a lady pilot, and the air traffic controller, there was a pause, and he says, "Are you serious?" And I can't hear what she says, but she says something like confirm, something like that. It's hard to hear her. Those air traffic controllers, I don't know how they do their jobs and how they hear the talk back and forth. And then there was another plane, an American, that was, I guess, coming behind her, who was like, "Yeah, I got my eye out on him for her. I'm looking for him." This has happened 7 times. 7 times. And here's the latest. It says rumors of LAX's infamous Jetpack Man has returned after private jet pilots astonishing audio. Yeah, I heard the audio, but it's really low. It's hard to hear. So I didn't want to play it here. I might, if I feel like it, if I feel better, I'll do a long form on this, long form video. But for now, I just wanted to let you know what's going on. It says the mystery of Southern California's notorious Jetpack Man may have just gained a bizarre new chapter. Yeah, to say the least. A pilot flying into LAX reported seeing what appeared to be a person in a wingsuit or possibly a skydiver soaring thousands of feet above the ground Sunday afternoon. So, yeah, that was just this past Sunday, reigniting speculation that the enigmatic figure who baffled authorities years ago may be back. Now, remember, LAPD did an investigation, the airport police, I believe, did an investigation, and eventually the FBI was involved. And I think the Beverly Hills PD was involved at one time, too. The startling sighting occurred as the crew of a Gulfstream jet was making its final approach. It's always final approach when this happens. We just had somebody cross us above 4,000 feet in a wingsuit, the pilot of a special air mission, Flight 741, told the LAX control tower, according to the air traffic controller audio. The report immediately drew comparisons to the so-called Jetpack Man, a mysterious airborne figure spotted multiple times near LAX beginning in 2020 that sparked investigations by both the FAA and the FBI. And I can tell you that LAPD was involved in this, and so was Beverly Hills. Hi, Randy. Hi, Mikey. I'll get to your comments in just a minute. Uh, let's see. This time, however, authorities say it remains unclear exactly what the pilot saw. I heard her voice. She was serious. The LA County Sheriff's Department said its Air Bureau was notified by Southern California air traffic controllers of a possible skydiver west of the 605 and north of the 105 at around 2:30 p.m. Sunday. Deputies dispatched a helicopter to search the area but were unable to locate anyone. So even the LA County Sheriff's Department has been involved in this over the years. The aircraft that reported the sighting had departed earlier in the day from Joint Base Andrews, that's an Air Force base in Maryland, made a stop at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas before heading to LAX. The object or person was spotted less than 10 minutes before the plane landed, according to reports. Other pilots in the area were alerted to keep an eye out as the incident unfolded. The FAA said it is investigating. The incident has revived memories of a string of bizarre encounters that began in 2020 when commercial airline pilots repeatedly reported seeing what appeared to be a person flying a jetpack near LAX at altitudes reaching as high as 6,000 feet. There's no way, that's a jetpack. Says one of the most publicized sightings came in August 2020 when an airline crew reported seeing a guy in a jetpack roughly flying at 3,000 feet near the airport. Another report surfaced the following year. And it just goes on and on and on about all these different reports in the order that they happened. Like I said, this is number 7. And I'm not going to read all the reports all day long. I'm only going to be on here a few minutes. But VMIS says, I didn't get a notification. I have to see another doctor. Randy Marshall, but thank you for asking. Randy Marsh, I saw craft appear 100 yards away and up 6 witnesses just appeared and stayed for 8 seconds and disappeared, didn't fly away. It bugs me. What was the point of us seeing that? I think about it every day. Yeah, there's all kinds of things we can't explain, Randy. Mrs. Pittsburgh said, hi. Hello back, Miss Pittsburgh. So this, I had thought about this just recently for some reason. I don't know what made me think about this, but I was like, yeah, I haven't heard anything about Jetpack Man. And a few years ago, after years and years of the FAA and the airport authority and the police department uh, and the FBI, they said, well, we just think it's some balloons, like some kids are releasing Jack Skellington balloons. But balloons float, and it's always in the same general area, but not exact. And it's anywhere between 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and 6,000 feet. And these are all credible pilots, even some international pilots that have come in, because we have international planes that come here like 24 hours a day. I mean, we have one of the most crowded airspaces in the world, which is kind of scary if you live under it like I do. Because it's like an accident waiting to happen. Thank God for our air traffic controllers. So let's see. The first sighting was August 2020, and 2 different airline pilots saw it. Then it happened again October 2020, and that was a China Airlines flight saw it. Then it happened again December 2020, and it was a private pilot academy saw it. But this time over near Palos Verdes. And then in July of 2021, another pilot saw it. It was referred to as a UFO or Iron Man. And then the 6th sighting was June 2022, 15 miles east of LAX at about 4,500 feet. And now it is at 6,000 feet. And these private Gulf Streams, I'm familiar with them because one of my close friends, her brother was in the Air Force for like 8 years as a pilot. And that was one of the groups that he was assigned to, where he would fly not only like colonels and, like very high up ranking military people, but he would also fly around like civilians that would get VIP treatment, such as Bob Hope. He used to be flown for free all over the world by the U.S. military, and they're not like in a military aircraft. They're like in a private aircraft, not a commercial plane, but like a Learjet or a Gulfstream. Like when you see these corporate jets. But there's actually the military has several that they own, and they fly the VIPs from base to base. And LAX is actually, most people don't realize this, but it is considered a landing strip for the Air Force as well. We get a lot of military at LAX as we do, Palmdale Air Force Plant 42, where I worked years ago, back in the old defense contracting days as a PI. So, these are not, some pilots that are on drugs or drunk or something. These are all like credible, either military or commercial pilots that are seeing this. And nobody ever sees it from the ground. It's always in the air where it just appears. Nobody knows what this is. Hi, Ash Cash. Let's see. What have I missed? Respect Important says, I think it's a military thing or a secret funded operation. Well, it's very dangerous, though, because these things are right in the path of these commercial airliners. That's like 3 miles high, right? You know what? I don't know. 3,000 to 6,000 feet from the ground. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what it is. And these are credible reports. Uh, what is that thing clipped onto the bill of my cap? That's my Wi-Fi mic. I am surviving, Ash Cash. I made it to the long cardiology appointment. Now I've got to start scheduling more appointments. I'd like to just eat and relax. The doctor's office chairs kill my back. And then he's always behind, but they make you get there early. And of course, the parking is always full. Mickey Dillo, I haven't seen you before. I haven't seen Randy Marsh either before. Are these all new people coming in? Hey, Jason E. Miner. I missed you. I missed you, sir. Sorry about that. Thank you, Boston Bill. He says, smash that like button. Yeah, smash that like button. I don't know if a lot of people are going to watch this one, but I live in LA and I lived near LAX as a child. Um, in fact, when we moved, I was a baby and we moved from San Francisco to LAX. My dad drove down with a family dog, and my mom and I went to Illinois and got stuck there for 5 weeks. And I was only 3 years old. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the most miserable 5 weeks of my life. And I remember being on that final flight from Chicago O'Hare to LAX. And I told my mom while I was sitting there eating my little airline food that this is the best day of my life because we were going home to California. And my mom was trying to explain that, yeah, we're coming home, but we're not going back to San Francisco Bay Area, that we're going to LA. And I said, but it's still California, right? Are you sure? I asked her that like 4 or 5 times, like, but it's still California, right? And then I was like, okay. And I remember everything from what I ate to the stewardess giving me a pink balloon. And we had an Air Force pilot that sat next to us, and he went up to the cockpit, met with the pilot, came back and pinned wings on me and, made some little speech about me being a terrific little flyer. And I just remember the excitement of getting off that plane. I even remember the Terminal 2. This was before LAX had the double decks. They still had the U go around, but there was no parking garages. There was just like some meters out in between the terminals where you could just pull up. You know, that's how old I am. That the second story of LAX, the second tower didn't even exist yet. Still was the old tower, no parking garages that were like multi-level, no exterior lots, and it took us only 5 minutes from the parking lot to get to our new home that was temporary. And that was a whole thing, having to live near one of the biggest airports in the world. Like I said, I can still just think about it and I can smell that jet fuel. It was constant. Uh, Now I live near Bob Hope. I'm on the takeoff pattern. Well, unless there's wind like there is today, and then they reverse, and JetBlue has a tendency to come a little low, and it almost lands on my roof. That's a little scary. Like, oh boy, here he comes. Those people were in New York 5.5 hours ago, and they're right over my head right now. Like, oh boy. Um, yeah, there's too much air traffic around here. But this is a dangerous situation because this whatever this is has a tendency to cut off, or not cut them off, but fly right beside them or right in front of them, and it's quite, for a pilot, with all the laser problems we have here, and then there's drones, and that can bring down an aircraft. Uh, and then, we're living in a world where, things are not really steady worldwide as far as the military and different things that are going on, in this post 9/11 world. You know, you don't know what's going to come at you and bring down a plane. So, and nobody ever sees this guy land. Like everybody comes out to look for him, and he appears, and then in seconds later, boom, he's gone. He didn't land on a skyscraper. That's not exact area where he's at. Nobody sees him land, nobody sees him take off, but it looks like a man wearing a jetpack. And the most recent sighting, the pilot, who I believe is military, said she thought it was either a skydiver or a man with a giant wing, like he's wearing a wingsuit. You know, that's a little different than the other sightings that were called Jetpack Man. And then the FBI came to the conclusion that it was a Jack Skellington balloon. Now, this is the same law enforcement agency that's trying to find Nancy Guthrie. That was their conclusion, that it was Jack Skellington balloons. But once again, balloons float. Balloons don't fly with navigation, with direction, unless it's some sort of sophisticated, spy balloon from China, like a weather balloon, and it's actually got navigation and it's got recording equipment on it. It's not like that. And it's not like these orbs that are seen out over our ocean ways by the US Navy. So, what is it? I'm behind on the chat. Kellyanne Sullivan. Oh, you've been sick? Me too, Kellyanne. Well, not sick, just doctor's appointments and a very bad pain. I hope you're feeling better, Kellyanne. I thought about you the other day, like, because Kelly Ray came in, and I was like, where's Kellyanne Sullivan? And then we had a third Kelly for a while, too. They could be doing that in high traffic areas like that as training exercises. I don't believe that at all, because some of these incidents have been near miss catastrophes. Um, Texas Mopar, hello. Bemis said, I had a doctor's appointment today. Also, it's never any fun. I hate it. I've hated it since I was a toddler. Um, Jay says, I had a doctor's appointment today too. BP up. Oh, mine was actually surprisingly good. And I thought it was going to be bad because I always get nervous with the cardiologist. Love memories like that. What, my toddler memories? I'm an Angelino through and through. If I weren't so disabled, I'd still be going down to the airport filming my airline videos. And I don't have the professional equipment that the bigger channels have, but I got some good videos on my channel. If you go to my planes, trains, and automobiles tab, hello, Kathy Doherty. We've got the three Kathys here today. Yes, I did, Colleen. I did make it to the cardiologist. Thank you for the floating heart. That was from Wright's Game Foul. Thank you. Thank you so much. Fallen Angels. I don't know what it is, but it's always bugged me that they never solved this. And the FBI put out some report like, oh, it was just Jack Skellington balloons. No, it wasn't. That's like telling the people of Roswell that a flying saucer crashed, which they did. And then a day later, they're like, oh, no, 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 we made a big mistake. That wasn't a flying saucer. That wasn't a flying disc. That was just a weather balloon. BS. No, it wasn't. But what is this? I don't believe that there's some guy that's wearing a jetpack that's, on top of a building somewhere in LA, and he just happens to go right in the path where we have 4 runways and we have 2 of them active in each direction. Like, you can, and there's never a break. I mean, at night when it's dusk and you can see the little dots, and then there's the next one and the next one and the next one, and there's space just, I mean, very close together, but not close enough where, like that in and out plane. I was almost there when that happened. That plane got too close to a commercial airline in front of it, and it just there it went. And you can't even have an incursion on the runway because there's not enough time or they have to do a go round because it's just, especially at the late afternoon, early evening around 7 is prime time, and they call it the Downy supper hour. And it's just non-stop. And both runways are, well, all four are packed. Literally, planes are taking off side by side where other planes are landing. And these runways are active. It's not like, well, this one lands here and then this one land. No, they're all coming in at the same time. Next, next, next. And then, the little what are they called? The little thoroughfares that are between the runways. And they're like, take Tango to Rodeo to, you know, it takes a long time to get into the terminals. And sometimes those get backed up. And you've got jets that are crossing the runways, and then you got big heavies coming in. It happened. And then they have these incursions where, whoop, got to do a go around. Like it's, I would never be able to do that job. That is so stressful just thinking about how these air traffic controllers handle all this. And then all of a sudden, this happens in broad daylight, where all of a sudden they're like, they're flying, they're landing, this is the most dangerous time of the flight is takeoff and landing. And their head is, it's pedal to the metal time. And all of a sudden there's a distraction because this guy that looks like he's got a jetpack. But it's weird. I mean, I've seen the pictures of the guy. I've seen, because there's pilots that have taken pictures. And it's like, what the heck is that? Like, that doesn't even look human. It doesn't even look like a man. And it definitely doesn't look like a kid's Mylar balloon. Like I said, balloons float. Balloons don't fly with navigation. So I'm sure a lot of people here are not from Los Angeles. They may have never heard of this story. Crossing airport flight paths is stupid. It's illegal. That's why the police, LAPD, the airport authority, the FBI, the FAA, this Sunday they had the sheriff's department out there, and that's in LAPD airspace. Like, that's a very serious situation. I mean, like I said, LAX, Santa Monica, which I guess is soon to be closed, Bob Hope, Van Nuys, Long Beach. You've got the planes going in and out of Catalina. There's Hawthorne. There's a bunch of small airports. We even have Whiteman in Pacoima, which is in the Northeast Valley. And I remember years ago, it happened in the middle of the night. Some plane was coming in, a big jet, like a Continental Airways, was coming into Burbank. And it was on an unusual pattern where they were coming in from the north, and they almost landed at a little teeny tiny airstrip that's like little single engine planes, and it's just a few blocks long. And they like and did a touch and go, and they're like, wrong airport. They would have killed everybody. It was a near miss. I was like, how can that even happen? Like, that's awful. Like, there's so many near misses. I mean, there's a report, I talked about it before, how the FAA said that LA, especially Burbank, which is near me, as far as, air miles, I'm 3 miles south of the main takeoff, if I'm even that. I'm in LA, I'm not in Burbank, but the Burbank airport it's surrounded by Los Angeles on the west and to the south, and to the north, actually. It's all like, that's not even Burbank. Now, when you get off the terminal and you drive out into the Hollywood Way, yeah, you're in Burbank, but you're like on West Burbank. You're almost in the city of Los Angeles. Um, that's why they changed the name so many times. Now it's the Burbank Hollywood Airport. Before it was Bob Hope, but nobody knew what that meant. Before it was the Burbank, Pasadena, Glendale. I don't know in which order. Nobody knew what that meant. Um, but they keep changing the name to try to tell people, like, no, this is in Los Angeles. And it's in LA County, but it's technically in the city of Burbank. Uh, Yes, doctor visits a lot and all tests, says Ash Cash. I'll be 43 September and have a weak heart. It's so scary. Email me anytime, Ash Cash. I'm right there with you. Randy Marsh. This is a very good point that Randy makes. Jetpack's flights usually last 2 to 3 minutes with fuel. Yeah, it has to go up and then it comes right back down. This is like 3 to 6,000 feet flying in front of commercial airlines that are coming in at 200 plus miles per hour because they've already started to slow by then because they're on approach. But you know, and then you can't like go from left to right because then the other runway, you know. Oh, let's see. Crossing airport flight path is stupid. Yes, I think I read that. Oh, and I did acknowledge you rights for the floating heart. Thank you so much. Uh, July. Fallen angels. Like, we don't know what this is because they don't see it on radar. And it comes out of nowhere. And when it hadn't happened for the last 3 or 4 years, people thought, it's a prank. It's a drone. I was like, that's not a drone. That's not a Jack Skellington. That's what the FBI came up with. Well, we think the most likely scenario is that this is some kind of a prank and it's Jack Skellington balloons. Just like we have all these laser pranksters. When I used to, broadcast live in the evenings and you guys could hear the tower, almost every recording you would hear pilots saying, oh, I just got hit by a laser over Malibu or over Sherman Oaks. And I'm like, Sherman Oaks, that's like air miles. That's like a second away, like, oh my God. And then they're blinded. It happens a lot here. But this, and it hadn't happened since 2022. And now it's mid 2026. And, this was a military plane. This was a private Gulfstream, but a special Gulfstream that was at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. Then it was at Nellis in Las Vegas. And then it came in with somebody very important, obviously, to LAX. And I actually heard the tower guy, the ATC guy say, are you serious? Like usually they believe it, like, oh yeah, because this has happened before. But the guy was like, are you serious? Maybe he didn't like ever serve at LAX back in 2020, 2021, 2022. And then he's like, do you have that American Airlines? Because there was an American Airlines either beside or behind. And they're like, oh yeah, we're looking for him. We're looking for him right now. Like, how do you explain any of this? I know so many people are not going to watch this today and say, this is stupid and this is boring. But to me, this is fascinating. Like, what on God's green earth is going on? This is happening in my city, a few miles from me. I want to know what this is. And I don't want the FBI to say it's a Jack Skellington balloon, especially because this guy, she didn't describe him as Jetpack Man. She described him as either a skydiver, which it wasn't, or a man wearing a winged suit. I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie. I'm afraid you're correct, V Miss. She said they aren't going to tell us anything. No problem, Ash Cash. I would love that. My only friends are a couple of YouTubers. Yeah, I try to answer as many messages as I can, but the bigger I grow, the more I'm getting the messages. I know drones are outlawed, yes. But a jetpack? Hey, John Feldbush. Yeah, like, how do you explain this? And I've got all the reports from before. If you look up on Wikipedia, like if you're interested in this, I know most of you might not be, but there's a good Wikipedia article about all the different sightings between August 30th, 2020, all the way to June 2022. And here we are, June 2026. So it's taken 4 years and this has happened again. What is it? Uh, yeah, that's what the FBI came up with. It's a Jack Skellington balloon. Because it doesn't look like some of the pictures I've seen, it doesn't look like a full-size man. But this may all of these incidents may not be the same thing. I've seen pictures and it one of the pictures I've seen does kind of look funky like a balloon, but they don't all look exactly the same. But a jetpack flies with navigation, with direction. This looked like a skydiver. Oh, so it must have been coming down at a high rate of speed. I mean, but she didn't say she saw a parachute, and then she said it was more like a guy in a wingsuit. Like, what's going on? Can somebody explain this? If anybody is an aviation uh, fan like myself, I've always been fascinated by aviation. And it's funny because I used to fly all the time when I was a kid. And as an adult, I haven't like gone anywhere. I can't even remember the last time I was on a plane. Uh, Mostly Dolls helicopter. You just got here. This is a good one for you to go back and see the beginning when I'm done. Um, Let them 6-6. Everything went great at my dentist appointment yesterday. Had 2 temporary crowns. Got to go back July 2nd for the actual crowns. My mouth was so numb and all the drilling. I went through that in April. Let them. It never ends for me. You know, I'm finally caught up, except for this damage from the chemo. That's a long story, but everything else is caught up dental wise. Cardiologist, you know, had good news, and in fact, we're going to start withdrawing the meds, which is always scary and risky. But I feel so bad all the time that I kind of am looking forward to it. But we're going to do it gradually and not at the same time. But he's like, you got to get hooked up with your primary again, because before you can get a doctor to order this ultrasound that I really want, he's like, a doctor needs to examine you first, and not a cardiologist, but like an urgent care or a primary care physician. And, they've got to see you and examine you. And then someone needs to place that order. And then we're going to go from there. Cause I was like, well, it could be a hernia from a metal detecting injury from years ago, but that doesn't make any sense that it went away and now it just came back. But it came back the same week that, I almost had a couple of falls from the vertigo. Um, so I could have pulled something, uh, could be a strain or a sprain, but sure didn't feel good this morning. Like I thought I was going to die. I was actually screamed out from my bed, like, what is this? But by the time I got to the doctor's office for the heart, it was like, it feels pretty good now, but I'm up walking around. Um, that's crazy. I feel like we are in the twilight zone with our health, or with the Jetpack Man. Ultralights are very small, look strange in flight. Glad to see you too, Peggy. I am still alive. Remember, everybody, one day at a time. Especially if you are, I'd say 55% of my audience is 65 or older. 55% of my audience is considerably older than me, uh, which is great. You guys are my YouTube family. We got to come up with a name for like my followers instead of just my subscribers, like my subs. Like, you know, is it April's Army or April's? We got to come up with something to, because I always say my YouTube family, but what are we going to call everybody? Um, Thank you for hitting the like button, Peggy. Ash Cash. Well, see, you're in the minority. You're only 42. You remember TWA, yeah. Lori Smith, welcome in, my friend. Well, first I'd have to learn how to pronounce that. Is it Avenger or Avenger? I'll have to look that one up. But yeah, you guys come up with a name. Something that, and I don't want to steal like somebody else's, usage of or verbiage or wording. Like I want to come up with my own or have my audience. Yeah, but it's for the subscribers. Are you my army? Are you my followers? Are you my subs? You're definitely my YouTube family. But are you my nation? Are you my what are you? Everybody think about it. Send me suggestions at aprildavispi@gmail.com. Uh don't talk about my PI cases here, Ash. It just legally I couldn't do that. I'd be in big trouble if I did that. They'd probably cancel my PI license. Can't talk about that stuff at all. That would be like a doctor or a lawyer going on and talking about their patients or their clients. Oh boy, here he is. Goodbye, Reese. And you got to wonder why I've never liked Trump. It's because of people like him. Uh, Nancy's Army, Nancy's Avengers. I don't even know how to pronounce it. April's Army. Uh, I don't know. We'll have to come up with something. We'll have to come up with something. But I don't know if you guys, like I said, I didn't think if I don't do a Nancy Guthrie story, everybody's like, "Why? Let's talk about Nancy." But there's nothing new to talk about today. The only thing on her that I'm interested in still is what were those lights? I did listen to that Mark the Shark video, and the lady Lauren that lives in the neighborhood, she did drive by, and there's some real crappy, to say the least, video where you just see like a bright light, like a actual light, like somebody turning on the lights inside the house. But it's just like like what is that? What am I even looking at? Like, could you just slow down for a couple seconds and take a picture? I mean, it would take a second to actually get it. I don't think the cops are out there at 4 a.m. writing tickets. Just driving down the street and like trying to get it, and it's like, oh, that's I can't even see that. Um, but it's making people wonder, like, who's moved in or who's getting ready to move in, and that's why they want the police to clear everybody out of there. Like, what's going on? That light, it is a little bit creepy, Ash Cash, but it's not as creepy as what happened during the night of that recreation of the crime. Now that was creepy. That made the hair on the back of my neck stand up because, the word on the streets is that um, nobody's living in that house right now. Nobody's living there. Lori Smith says, I'm still on the hooker case. I feel an arrest coming any day. Yeah, I hope something happens with that. That poor woman. It's not looking good. When you disappear out over the ocean, it's, you know, never good. Uh, so, I mean, you guys don't live in LA, most of you. I do have like Cali Girl on Fire comes in here, but I think she's like in Central California. Like, I don't have a lot of Angelinos that come in on the chat. Uh, so, had you guys ever heard of this story before about the LAX Jetpack Man? And now something similar to that has made an appearance. And it's so weird because nobody sees it take off. Nobody sees it land. Like, once the report goes out to air traffic control, everybody from LAPD to helicopters in the area to small, aviation aircraft, everybody, like the word just gets out. And there's so many planes in our sky at any given moment in LA. even in the day, like, it's just we're our skies are packed, and our weather is typically, pretty good and clear. Um, and then nobody else sees it. It's just like it's there, and then it's not there. Uh, and not all these pilots from all over the world are hallucinating. Uh, Jane says she hadn't heard about it. Ashcash says A&T hasn't been home in weeks per their neighbors. They might move in Nancy's home, maybe. I don't know. I hope not. Leanne says she's never heard of this. Yeah, if you do the research on the internet, you'll actually see some of the former pictures. And one of the pictures does kind of look like a Jack Skellington balloon, but it's not always the exact same thing because people are saying, no, it's Jetpack Man. And he's got the equipment over his and he's flying. But then this pilot, who is with the military, and they didn't say she was military, but she was on a Gulf Stream from Joint, I had it on my mind because of the B-52 crash, Joint Andrews, which is in Maryland. I used to live near there, and that's where my neighbor would fly in and out of there all the time on Air Force One with President Reagan. That's where Air Force One is taking off and landing all the time, and that's a huge, huge air base, Andrews in Maryland. And then they went to Nellis, which is another huge base out in Las Vegas. Lori Smith coming in 46 minutes into my 30-minute video. I'm going to give you a thumbs up, Lori, or I'm going to give you a heart. Everybody else, give Lori a thumbs up on her super chat. I really appreciate that, Lori. Yeah, they haven't been coming in at the speed they were coming in before because our friend Saraf is not always here all the time. I can't that guy is like single-handedly holding up my channel on his shoulders. Ashcash says, I can't believe it's going on 5 months already. Yeah, I didn't do the count for today because I was in the doctor's office, but I did catch up on a lot of messages for YouTube while I was in the doctor's office. And today is the 16th of June. So it is day number 136 regarding Nancy Guthrie. And I am interested in this light, this bright light that was in a front window. But I'm still, when I think about it, especially if I'm laying in bed at night, I still get creeped out, but not necessarily in a bad way, regarding the lights that came on during the recreation of the crime. And there's no way that we were being hoodwinked or gaslit. Like, I saw it with my own eyes, and there was nobody in that house. And it wasn't like a light turned on or a timer turned on a lamp, or it was the most bizarre thing that I have ever seen when I've been watching YouTube. 5 years on Summer Wells, prayers we find her. It says, let them 6-6. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I'm sorry. I might be if somebody reminded me. There's so many. Um, your son's 45th birthday. Well, you're lucky, Lori. You have a son. Now I have my Thai sponsor kids, but they're grown up, and one's married and has two little boys now, and the other has a girlfriend and her family, and so I don't get to see them very often. But we still stay in touch, regularly. I didn't watch that reaction video. On which one? Oh, okay, the recreation video, yeah. I usually don't watch all the YouTubers because I can't. I'm getting messages every day. Did you see this video? Did you see this? And sometimes they don't even give me the right day. And I'm like, I've already seen this. I'm like, oh my God. And like at some point, especially with my health just not being great the last few weeks between the vertigo and then the Zevia poisoning and then me not feeling well, even after that got out of my system, like now I have this bad pain and, you know, um, that my hand was injured. I even showed the heart doctor that, and I'm like, "I know this is an injury." And I said, "My audience yesterday on YouTube was telling me to show it to you, saying that it was my heart." And he's like, "That's not your heart. That's a bruise." And I'm like, "I know, but I don't know how I got it. Just like I don't know how I got this strain that's in the exact same spot as my old metal detecting injury." And he was like, "Metal detecting?" And he said, "Metal detect?" I said, "Metal detecting." He was like, he didn't even he's been his whole life in school. He was like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "When I would go out to the beach and he was like, "Oh, do you find stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "What do you find? Gold, silver, platinum? Have you ever found anybody's wedding ring for them?" Like, "Yeah, I've done." "Oh, wow." And I'm like, it's really hard when you're not in the dry sand and you're in the wet pack or you're fighting the waves and the sharks and the dolphins are swimming in front of you, like, and the waves are gonna knock you down and you don't want to get your phone wet or your bag wet. Like, it's crazy. Or to be in a lake and you're up to here and your equipment's like pulling you down into the current. Like, it's crazy. And I'm like, it's very physically demanding. And I said, I haven't been able to do that in years because of everything that's happened to me. I think I tried one time after my cancer, but that was before my heart thing. And I just had no energy after 10 minutes. I'm like, this is how I wanted to spend my retirement, but I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. Um, so I don't know how this injury flared up, and I said, "It felt pretty good this morning, but then all of a sudden I just turned in bed and I was just like, ah, you know." And he's like, "You got to go see." I'm like, "I can call my oncologist and get a scan and get this," and he's like, "No, you need to go see an urgent care, or you got to start up again with your primary care provider." And I'm like, "I haven't seen that guy in years because I got like 25 specialists." And he's like, "Well, you can go to anyone, but you've got to find one and you got to check in and they got to examine you and then someone can place that order." And I'm like, "Okay, it's on my to-do list besides cardiology, oncology, blood, single boob mammogram. I need more x-rays or ultrasounds for the kidney stone that's still there, even though they removed it during surgery, but part of it is still there. Then that means I have to follow up with the urologist so he can monitor this. Like I can never catch a break, people. But now I need to go doctor shopping, and they're gonna say, "Have you ever had surgery before? How many different types of meds are you?" Like, oh my god. We'll be here 6 hours just to go over everything, so I can have somebody look at this, you know, and say, "You know what? I don't know what that is. We'll have to do some tests." You think? And of course, it's gonna ring the alarm bells for the doctors because I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I went off the hormone blocker in October. I know this is TMI, but see, that's when my risk could just soar, and they would be like, "Oh my god, it could be colon cancer," or, "Oh my god, it could be your ovaries or ovarian cancer," or, all those things are gonna cross their minds, and I know that it's not, because then I'd be in pain constantly. It wouldn't just be intermittent when I cough or sneeze or stand up or bend or turn left or turn right, you know? It's definitely something is pulled. But if it's like some sort of a miniature hernia, it could become a medical emergency, especially with women, because with women, it's more internal than it is with a man. So, that's just something else that I have to deal with. Right now, I'm just thankful that I made it to the cardiology appointment, and I'm going to start praying because as of tomorrow, I have to start reducing one of my meds. And then a month later, I have to start reducing the other one. And then I'll have to monitor myself constantly so that I don't just keel over. Call 911. I'm so tired of this. I understand when people get old, how at some point they just say, give up. I just want to rest in peace. I'm not to that point yet, especially now that my YouTube is starting to pop a little bit. Um, write meds and history down for PCP. Yeah, I had to write the notes today just to see the cardiologist. Like, okay, because I know I'm only gonna have a few minutes because you're behind, so I need to ask you this, this, and this in a hurry. Um, oh, I haven't heard that. Try not to recommend other YouTube channels, but the Sue Ellen song by Adventures with Angela is just epic. I don't even know who she is, but I heard that somebody did a song. Hussafel, hi. In the old days, people rarely went to the doctors, and a lot of people from that generation lived a long time into their 80s. Absolutely. Leanne Rayner. Summer Wells was a 5-year-old little girl who disappeared from a community in Tennessee under strange circumstances on June 15th, 2021. I don't know who that is. My cousin keeps coming in here talking about a case in South Carolina, and every time she mentions it, uh, I don't know who it is. And I can't really get involved and like she was like wants me to, do stories on it, but I don't live in South Carolina, and I've never heard of it, but I guess it's a really big case back there, whoever it is. Uh, Absolutely know exactly how you feel. We should be neighbors, Jay. We could help each other. We could drive each other to appointments and stuff. Like when the hubster, your hubster, is he's busy at work. uh, yeah, me too. Out of the blue pain. That's what's so strange about it. And it was better this morning. It wasn't completely better, but it was somewhat better. And then all of a sudden I like, ah. But then once I got up and once I walk around, it seems to get better. Um, Elena Moore, South Carolina. No, it was somebody else. If you named it, I would recognize the name. She asked me about it all the time. I think she's surprised that I've never heard of it. And I've heard a lot of big cases, but I have no idea what she's talking about. It just doesn't make the news here. I agree with you, Jay. She says to Hussafel, our food is different now. I think much of our food is made to poison us. Hey, Suzanne, do we have any of the Sues or the Susans in here? Because we got Suzanne. Lori Smith coming in with a $5 super chat. Um, I like everybody here, but I'm just like, we finally had Kellyanne Sullivan. She came back. I saw Kelly Ray yesterday. We have Sue from Michigan, Sue from from upstate New York, and Sue from Massachusetts. And we have Susans and Suzannes. Hey, Suzanne, just as I mentioned you sent the gold coin. Thank you, my dear. I'm telling you, those penny jewels, they add up. Suzanne sent another gold coin. Thank you so much. Yeah, those jewels are a good supplement. And you know what I read yesterday too? And I never had really thought about this. Sometimes my mods will bring it up, but they're like, um, when you're on a YouTube live and you're talking to your subscribers and your viewers, that you need to mention that there is membership availability. Because if you don't mention it, people aren't going to think about it. And that if you mention it, even if you just mention it one time during a video, you're likely to gain 3 times the amount of subscribers, or no, 3 times the amount of members. So per YouTube, per their suggestion, I will tell you that I do have memberships available. The starting one is only $4.99. I haven't kept up with Savannah's mom's disappearance. I have about 120 to 30 videos on that. Do you have any hope on getting justice for Nancy? Yes. Or is it on its way to being a cold case? It's not a cold case yet. Not yet. Oh, by the way, and I can't say who the YouTuber is. It's a man. And he probably reports on lots of other stories too, but it's a man, and he has done several videos on the Nancy Guthrie case. That's all I can say. And I'm starting to be able to read what he's thinking, but he has to be careful because, and he's got a lot of followers. I mean, he's a professional YouTuber. I think the guy has another job, but he's a professional YouTuber. Um, he said, or he is implying, or I'm just able to read his mind, that I think if I knew this guy, I would never just like send him a message because he might then say what I've said to him privately and put it out there. And I don't want to take that risk because I don't know the guy. But if I knew him, we were friends, and I could like go buy him a coffee at Starbucks and say, I want to talk to you about something about front porch guy. I think him and I were on the exact same wavelength. And I saw him, it had to be in the middle of the night. I saw a clip of something and I was like, you know, he is on the exact same path or wavelength that I'm on about front porch guy. And he so badly, I can tell he so badly wants to tell his audience, but this is an open case. It's like when you guys asked me to report on JonBenet Ramsey. It's 30 years, but that case is still actively open, and there's activity going on that case. Uh, I did do the video the other day about the death of the housekeeper, and that's an interesting one, but I can't really make a complete video on that case because that's still happening. Did my cousin mention Elena Catherine Moore? No, she was a personal trainer who disappeared near a Planet Fitness. Oh, who is it? Because she lives on Myrtle Beach or in Myrtle Beach. I don't think she actually lives on the beach. It's a famous case in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Let me just type in true crime. I'm just going to say true crime. Um, Here's another name, a Brittany Drexel. That's not it. Heather Elvis. No, that's not it. Carrie and Stephen Turner. That's not it. Who is it? Micah Miller. I-9 bingo. Suzanne is the winner. Yeah, I don't know who that is. And she brings it up almost every single time that she comes into my channel. Who the heck is that? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that case. Is that a man or a woman? It looks like a woman's name. She always wants me to talk about this. And I'm like, I can't just talk about something that I don't know. Oh, it's involving a Myrtle Beach pastor. Oh, okay. Interesting. Don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. And I want to tell you, I so badly would like to tell you guys because you feel like you're my family now, what I think about who's involved, why they're involved, but I'm not investigating the case. So I don't have access to the information that the police have, that the FBI has, the sheriff's department, the family. Like, I have my whole list. I'm just like you guys. I'm just hearing, I'm reporting on this, and we're all getting our sources from, you know, basically the same people. The mainstream news is not even into this anymore. Uh, this case is not cold, but and I wish I could name this other YouTuber, but I can't. I can just say that it's a man, and he's got a really big channel. Like, I mean, I don't know if he makes a living off of it. I think he has, another job. I think a lot of these people just do these videos like in the evenings or on weekends. Um, but I know that he's not comfortable with somebody that's involved in this because remember, there's the big cast of characters. There's all the actors in this soap opera. I talked about it earlier, Lori. You'll have to watch the replay, but I'm still with the living. You know what? I don't even have a StreamYard, so I'm not set up to be able to do a collaboration. And I would get myself in big trouble if we collaborated over that. Invite that male YouTuber to one of your lives. I'm not that important. I would like to see y'all bounce off ideas and maybe he could speak more freely here. No, 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 no. In fact, that's probably why I would never collaborate with anybody on this. And now I've had some calls with the Juice, and that's not who I'm talking about here. Um, you know, I got to be very careful. I can't, I've been in the legal field my entire career. I think like a lawyer. I can't get on a YouTube channel and say, hey, this person is sus to me because of this, this, and this. And now, you know, um, and I was trying to look through my phone. I wish I had some of my old texts because I had texted a friend and I'm like, I think I got it figured out. And I think it was around either February 13th, 14th, or 15th. It was somewhere around there. And you got to remember, this happened on the 1st in the middle of the night. We found out about it publicly Sunday night, February 1st. The ransoms to TMZ didn't come in until Tuesday morning, February 3rd. Then they confirmed that the same or similar ransom notes came into two of the local news stations, but they didn't say what day. Did they come in Monday or did they come in the same day that TMZ received their notes? So the public knew about the TMZ ransoms on the 3rd. And I'm telling you, within the next 10 to 12 days, because remember, they didn't even say this was a kidnapping right away, that the 84-year-old mother of Today co-host Savannah Guthrie had disappeared. She was missing. And the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, she's been kidnapped. And apparently Cameron Guthrie, he had the same reaction when he was on the phone with Savannah. And then she was like, do you think it was because of me? And he was like, yeah, sweetie, like, that's the first thing as a military guy that came to mind. Like, it's connected to her because of her fame and her money. And that's very, very possible. But then, since I don't know who her immediate threats are, I don't work security for her. I'm not her PI. I had to also look at the fact that, well, 75 to 92% of people that are abducted, kidnapped, or murdered that's happened with people that are close to them. And so once it came out that there were these ransoms, whether they were legit or they were red herrings or that they were just people, copycat criminals trying to get a free buck off of this, then it was called a kidnapping. And then I talked to that FBI agent, the retired FBI agent, and he said, well, you know, we still don't know the motive, but if somebody was forcibly taken from their home, it's a kidnapping because I kept calling it an abduction. I'm not convinced that it was a kidnapping for ransom. It might have been, it might not have been. But considering that, we're at day 136, and I would say between the 13th and the 15th of February, I pretty much had my suspects in mind. And I have never wavered from that. I've made the calls in March and April to the FBI. I wrote the letter in May, and you guys ask me every day, have you heard from the FBI? No, I haven't. But I am more sure than I have ever been of some of the names or people that I think are involved here, uh, and the why. I just don't know if they're the worker bees or they're the organizers. Um, Leanne says there's a 52-year-old mother of two named Amy Hilliard missing since March. Oh, I heard about that. March 25th, 2026 from Oakland, California under suspicious circumstances. Yes, I was just going to ask you if she was the lady that owned the coffee shop. She and her husband own two local coffee shops. Yeah, and as far as I know, she's never been found, has she? Our usual trolls. Yeah, I haven't heard any follow-up on that, Leanne. But I remember my viewers first told me about it, like, when it had first happened, and I looked into it, and I was like, "Oh, wow." Yeah, that's That's been quite some time. Oh, it was March. Yeah, it was even well, no, it was since the Nancy Guthrie case. Okay, yeah, because that was February. So, yeah, that was during the time that we were talking about Nancy Guthrie that my viewers had mentioned it, and then I looked it up. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this happens all the time, but this case, the Nancy Guthrie case is getting so much, attention because she is the 84-year-old mom of Savannah Guthrie. There's always certain cases that just catch on bigger than others. But there's people that go missing every day, especially children, and a lot of them are never found, ever. There's just look at all the missing people in Alaska. There's more people missing in Alaska than any other place, like, on Earth, and a lot of that can be explained, but the numbers are just very, very big, and they never close missing persons cases in Alaska until they can absolutely, be found or confirm that they're dead, and they have to have proof. They never close cases of that type in Alaska, and there's a lot of bizarre ones. I mean, there's a part of our population that just disappears and is never found again. And there's not even remains. There's nothing. It's weird. It's just like this jetpack guy. Like, what's really going on? I don't believe this is some prank or some Jack Skellington balloon that's been shot up into the air, on the LAX approach. I don't believe that. There's something else going on here. Hey, KMG. Oh yeah, there's some of the biggest cases that are just the most incredible have happened in Alaska. There's entire towns that just don't live there anymore because of weird stuff, and the most famous case is that missing congressman. Like, there's a, podcast on that, and it's crazy. Uh, I know, I talked about that a little bit on my channel, Suzanne. How about all the scientists who are missing? I know, all around this disclosure stuff, right? Hello from Ireland, Billy Elliot. Why couldn't you do a live with someone else? I'm confused. First of all, I'm not set up to do that yet. I don't have OBS or StreamYard, and I don't feel like paying for StreamYard. And I don't want somebody that I'm not familiar with coming in on my channel and naming a suspect on April Davis PI's channel, and then I get sued. It's not worth it. I do some call-ins with my friend the Juice. You guys can, go hear those. I got some links and I've got some videos on that, but nope, not big enough yet to do a collaboration video. Hey, Stringer 44 or 440 or 40. There, now I got it. No, I'm not going in that direction at all. I'm not saying that I would never do it in the future, but and these people that are talking about this are generally just true crime channels. They're not private investigators. I got to think about the legalities. Hello, I was the guy last asking about Anne Heche. Hope you are well. I agree. You take on a very strange. I agree with you. Your take on it a very strange video. Yeah, we're like I said. I told you yesterday, whenever you brought it up, that I'm not going to discuss the Anne Heche situation. Seems like one scientist a month. Yeah. One of the women that was missing was recently found too, and I gotta look up to see which one that was. At first, I thought that was the one that disappeared locally here in the Angeles National Forest, which that's a weird one to me, but I think it was one of the ladies in New Mexico, and I think she was the one that was connected to the general. I mean, what is it, 18 or 19 people now? I mean, there are coincidences and then there are not coincidences. I mean, that's being reported in the mainstream news now and has been for months. I've talked about it a few times on my channel because I try to make other videos that are not just about Nancy Guthrie, and I have all my playlists and my long form content, but you guys seem to be coming in for, Nancy Guthrie. Maria Casillas, that's her name. Yes, we are, but for permissible purposes. And we can't resell the information, but we can do so as part of an investigation. Yeah, I have DMV access to not only California, but I also have access to multiple other states. But a lot of the states are closing up. Like we can't get Washington anymore on plates. And I don't have law enforcement access, but I have the next closest tier to law enforcement access 24/7. What's really helped this the PI industry is the LPRs because sometimes you just have a vehicle and then you have a common name and you don't know like how it all fits in. So the LPRs are wonderful. And I think that's what's taken the FBI so long, not just the DNA, but they're going through all the intersections, they're going through the street cams because they used to never have that, 20 years ago. Now there's a camera everywhere. So they've got traffic cams, there's news cams, there's police security cams, there's LPR readers that are all over the world now. They got to, and then there's cell tower data and there's just so and then there's 50,000 tips to go through. There's so much. I have no idea, James Smythe. I'm getting some weird questions today. We're talking about Jetpack Man, but hey, I don't mind. Engagement helps. Thumbs up, subscribers, even these little jewels that are being sent, and they're worth pennies, but it helps. The super chats, everything, or rewatching the video and placing a comment in the comment section afterwards is always helpful as well. Suzanne sent a flow state. That's a cool one. I like that one. I haven't seen the kaleidoscope eyes lately. And Jay, your hubster sent me the stay hydrated turtle. That's one of my favorites as well. Thank you so much, Suzanne. It opens on Friday and it's so hideous that people are comparing it to a Star Trek prison. I don't know. Everybody, let's say a prayer for Nancy Guthrie and Savannah and her family. And I'm not trying to exclude Annie and Tommaso, but they're still on everybody's radar, and 80% of the population thinks they had something to do with it. And I'm not one of those people that's going to say that. Uh, but they do strike me as kind of strange, and I don't like the body language. And I wonder where they are. I think it's probably a security issue. Um, I'd sure love to know what were in those banker's boxes that Tommaso pulled out of Nancy's house. Um, I'd love to know. how they have survived for the past year without him allegedly working. Um, I kinda don't wanna know if the rumors are true about the Wiccan stuff and the witches, and I don't know, I'm just out of all the characters in this, and I'm not saying they had anything to do with it, but that Annie Guthrie chick just creeps me out. She is the opposite end of the spectrum from Savannah, who I just adore. But I had a little problem with Savannah the other day when people were saying that, she's having Mark Kelly go out to the house to rip off the flowers. I just can't imagine that she would want to do that and desecrate the memorial that's out in front of her mother's house. Another YouTuber calls it the Garden of Hope, you know? We're still looking for you, Nancy. We're still thinking about you. As soon as that little Garden of Hope or memoriam disappears, it's like it's not important anymore. So I'd really be sad if the implications are true that she's, got Mark Kelly in her back pocket and he's been out there, taking things at 6 a.m. You know, I can understand the HOA. There were some neighbors that were cleaning up the dead flowers, but people are always lying new ones and they're being stolen. Like, what's the point of that? Like, the case isn't closed. It's not even cold yet. Like, why are we just cleaning all that up? And who's the guy in the white Tesla that's coming in and out of that driveway? And now all of a sudden, everybody that goes anywhere near that neighborhood that might be, exercising their First Amendment rights is in the slammer or got a citation or a court date. Like, and now the neighbors, they don't even want to just drive by and slow down. And they just get some crap video of a light at 4 a.m. What are they doing out there at 4 in the morning? Like, what's going on? Where are these lights coming from? And who is Jetpack Man? I know most of you guys here are not Angelenos like myself, but who the heck is this guy? And are all these 7 incidents connected? Or is there more than one thing going on here? Maybe there was a balloon at one time, but that's not what's been going on for every visit of Jetpack Man, flying either in front of or side by side these commercial aircraft. It's crazy. I'm a detective, like when I was a child, I didn't have any relatives that were um, law enforcement. There weren't any detectives in my family, but I was always like,